super dry run. Welcome to the Zero Substance Podcast, where this is all based off eye test. And yeah, I'm a big believer in stats and substance, but I come on here and just really talk from the heart, talk from a personal standpoint sometimes. And that's kind of just going to be the big thing for me going forward, that I just want to show you guys my own personal takes. And with that being said, I just crumbled my notes and threw them in the garbage because I just want to come on here and be real. So, quick little description about myself. My name is Giovanni Charles. If I had a label, if I had to show you guys, if I had to tell you guys, if I had to describe what my game is like, I would say it's like a mix of Nick Wright and Big Cat, except that I'm a dual threat because I got Spanish in my game as well. All jokes aside, those are my two probably favorite analysts right now. And I always have my listen on a daily basis. And I'd probably label them as my mentors. Between basketball and soccer, I don't really want to choose my favorite. Those are for sure just my two loves. And I'm also a football guy and slowly casual turning UFC predictions superstar. Being that soccer is in an international break, I'm probably going to take a break myself. This gets a little exhausting after a while. So I'm just going to try to catch you guys up with the NBA real quick. We're going to run through the standings and just kind of see where every team's at right now at this point in the season. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Eastern Conference first because I think the Wild Wild West is just a little more hectic. And the East, I think there's like about 5 teams with a realistic chance. Or at least that where we wouldn't get so surprised as we're in the West. There's legit 10 teams that have a honest chance. Let's go with the Milwaukee Bucks. Their season has been a little wild because they've kind of dealt with the injuries and they're still in first place right now, which shows a lot about the culture. Giannis is, this hurts to say, being a LeBron guy, is the best player in basketball, just overall, affects both sides of the ball. The big thing here is, can he get the right help? Having Chris Middleton was, the second guy, and now it kind of looks like it's more Drew. So I gotta see if my boy Cash Middleton can turn into that. That he was, I would say an all-star, not never a superstar, but he was an all-star and pretty much the closer for that team. One of the old school mid-range guys still left in the NBA. So that's going to be the big battle with the Bucks, I believe, as far as can Giannis get some help from other guys. But the ceiling is championship or bust, definitely for them. Moving on to the Boston Celtics. I feel with the Celtics, the big thing with them is they came out the gates early, trying to avenge that heartbreaking finals loss last year. And I feel like they pressed the NOS button a little too early, but obviously still a team that plays the right way, shoots a lot of threes, and has probably one of the new faces. He has kind of just cemented himself as a superstar in Jason Tatum. And honestly, they might be the best duo in basketball as far as JB and JT. They at the All-Star game, I feel like they stole the show, and it's a team where they're slowly they were slowly that young team, and now they're becoming, I don't want to say a veteran team, but a team that is mature enough to start creating that championship culture. So also championship or bust for the Boston Celtics. We're gonna move on to Philly. Philly, it's just weird. They have the talent to do it. It's just kind of more everyone putting their ego aside, all the way up from the coaching to the players. Where Doc Rivers, I feel like he has a problem in the playoffs where he just becomes a little too predictable and he just wants to run sets for his superstars, which I understand. You have probably the most dominant guy in the league when you got to go to for one basket. It's just going to be is can he get creative enough like these other guys in disguising the plays and the sets to get Embiid easier buckets. With James Harden, we're going to need a vintage performance for him, and it just kind of sucks to say that, but recently in these last 2 3 years he for sure hit a wall and he's just not that explosive. And I'm hoping, I mean, hopefully I give him the Jovi curse and he does turn it all around. But that's going to be the big thing. Can they run offense as a team and not be too predictable for the Sixers? Let's move on to an old familiar face in my Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs, they're that young team still where they're young enough to not care. That's going to be a big term for me because I really like teams that are young enough to not care. The Cavs, the thing with them is they're a deep team. The only thing I worry about them is can they guard twos and threes? And looking up in these standings, you got the Boston Celtics where their two superstars are twos and threes. So I'm a little worried. Like I feel like Spidey. I'm not worried about Spidey's offense. I just feel like he's gonna struggle to guard a two like Jaylen Brown. And then even then, who's their three that's gonna guard JT or Jason Tatum? I love Evan Mobley's mobility as a big. He could do a great job on them, but I think it would be unfair to ask for him to guard someone as mobile as Jason Tatum. But listen, I'm all for shutting me up, and I think they could be really good defensively. My worry is just can they guard that 2 to 3 area for the Cavs? I don't want to say championship or bust. This is probably like year one in a project that's going to a great place. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, I would just say they're overachievers pretty much at this point. So let's just see what they're pretty much playing with house money in my book. And let's just ride it out. And, they could surprise the world. And now we got Tommy Thibodeau's New York Knicks, where they just play hard. And that's always kind of been a Thibodeau thing. The thing with the Knicks is, do they have enough offense to compete with these other guys? I feel like even then, too, the bench is probably going to struggle a little bit compared to these other guys' benches. But the Knicks is a team that where they could get hot at the right time. I just see it as it might not be enough yet, or at this point, they got to make one big move. But even then, Jalen Brunson at times does look like he could be the closer for that team, and he just brings a certain energy that could spark them into not caring about what I think or what everyone else thinks. So the Knicks, I'm not gonna label them in the championship or bust category, but I am gonna invest some time into seeing, or I am gonna invest curiosity into seeing what they do. The Brooklyn Nets, as far as a team that is loaded from A through Z, the Nets are pretty underratedly deep. The thing with them is, do they have enough ball handlers to create offense? And it's another team with, honestly, no more expectations, that's been through a lot, nothing to lose. So just keep a nice little eye on the Nets. The both Borough teams, I think, in general, they have nothing to lose, and they're feisty. They have that personality to them. So they're going to be a tough outcome playoff time, but definitely not championship or bust category. Number 7, the Miami Heat, another team that's close to home. What I'm going to say about the Miami Heat right now is that they have the talent, they have the pieces. It's just been a rough season for them. That in the playoffs is a different animal that already has that experience in the playoffs, that seems not to be even interested in the regular season. So this is biased 100%, but I think I got the Miami Heat in the championship or bust category just because they went from, what was it, the first seed last year to the 7th right now, play-in tournament bound. And Jimmy just takes stuff like that personal. You got Bam. I like him as far as how he switches pick and rolls, his mobility on the defensive end. Kyle Lowry, who has just had a rough time as a Miami Heat, is one of my favorite guys as far as like energy. It's all about guys that really just can shrug off the lights and the noise, and that's Kyle Lowry to me. So watch out that Miami Heat team come postseason. For the Atlanta Hawks, the 8th seed, the 2-point guard set has been a little bit confusing to me at times because it's hard defensively, but it's also challenging from a spacing and catching and shoot standpoint, where today's NBA, you need a lot of catch and shoot guys. When you have 2-point guards that just kind of want to dribble penetrate, it kind of becomes like a hassle as far as spacing and stuff. So I think the Hawks, I mean, they have 2 guys that could dribble penetrate at you at all times. Can they find spacing in shooting, where they do have some pieces that could do it, but that's going to be the key for them. There's a team, they have a superstar in Trae Young, where he could just, we've seen him in the playoffs, can just take over a game. And that's the big thing where you just can't count him out. And now that I'm going through this list, I'm here thinking out loud. The Eastern Conference is pretty loaded itself, because now next you got the Raptors, the Bulls, the Pacers, and Washington, where it's all hit or miss who's going to make the play-in tournament. But those are tough outs, man. Especially one game, do or die in the play-in. You don't want to see none of those teams with everything on the line. So even finding out who does get in eventually to the playoffs is going to be exciting. I feel like the process, like these last regular season games, are going to get pretty intense because you got 3 or 4 teams with a realistic chance to get in with nothing to lose that they don't really care about. So we'll see what happens in the East. Now it's time to move on to the Wild Wild West, where things are just wild at this point. Pretty cliche, but let me start going through this list real quick. Up first, we got Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic slowly became the most talked about guy in the league for good or bad reason. A lot of people don't believe in this team, but it's a deep team. Mike Malone, one of my personal favorite coaches. You guys already know why. The Nuggets brand of basketball has been in a great place over the last few years. It's just more like they always hit that wall where they run into a more experienced team that's actually done it. I see the Nuggets as maybe getting over the hurdle this year. They struggle with certain matchups where you run Jokic and pick and roll sets on defense, and you kind of little expose them laterally, but you get that with his offense. In general, the Nuggets have been pretty healthy this year, and it's hard to go to their house and beat them. You really have to have a style. Golden State swept them in the playoffs last year, but it's just more like Draymond running pick and roll with Joker having to guard him or set back. They kind of just know how to expose them. So that's always going to be a scary matchup for them. But the Nuggets match up well with pretty much everyone else. It's just a bogus that I kind of don't believe in them. It's the championship or bust culture that we're starting to create. And the Nuggets definitely are at that point where pull through. We're going to start labeling them as not good enough. We're going to want to blow it up. And then Nuggets, this is going to be one of that playoffs run where they really got to look themselves in the mirror. I think we're at this point where it's been the same players for a while as far as like the big two, Jamal and Jokic. And unfortunately, if they don't get the job done, I think they will blow this up, or they will start looking and overthinking if this team's good enough to get there. And let's move on to 3-6 Mafia. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies, where it's a young team. Again, young teams that don't care. Memphis has been that for a few years. This year, they still showed signs of it. But this is a team, at this point, you were expecting maybe for them to hit that mature level or just kind of realize their potential or how good they truly are. But they still have adversity as far as off-court stuff where you just cannot win championships that way. Hopefully, they're able to put that all aside and make a good run this year where he's been through everything at this point. I mean, he's been a talk in bad ways. Why not go out and just go win a chippy, That's how fast or easily we are convinced nowadays, where if the Grizzlies win this championship, Ja will just kind of sweep all that Instagram live stuff under the rug. I'm not saying to go do that, but it's just go play basketball, man. And by playing basketball, if you win a championship for Memphis, bring it to a small market team with a young core, with the guys that you started with. This is a team where they have players that the organization drafted. If you go out and do that, man, that's the way to just show where your heart is, where your mind is really at. At number 3, probably the overall biggest surprise of the season, not for me, because look up Mike Brown and our history. Another quick little look up. Me and Mike Brown also go way back. The Sacramento Kings play so fast, and in general they just want to outscore you. I always say, you want to take the champion down, you take them down from the inside out. And that's what the Kings are slowly doing, as far as they took away Mike Brown from the Warriors. They started playing their brand of basketball in a sense. They want to just push the ball, get easy shots, run it down your throat. My dream matchup in these playoffs is the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Sacramento Kings. I know what a lot of people are thinking, what the heck, what is that? The reason being that these teams both play so fast. They push the ball. They get open shots. They're going to literally get you dizzy. I don't think we could survive 7 games of Grizzlies and Kings basketball. I'm already a little worried for the cameraman if the Grizzlies and Kings meet up in the playoffs, because that game is gonna be basket to basket, basket to basket, basket to basket, and there's gonna be top tier basketball played. If the Grizzlies and Kings match up, definitely tune into that because it's just like the new age of basketball and the new brand of basketball. I would say the Grizzlies and Kings are those young teams that just don't care. Again, that's probably like the sixth time I said that. But they're two teams that play basketball the right way. They're coached the right way. Their offense is out of this world. The Grizzlies harass you defensively, and the Kings have the most clutch player in basketball right now, and De'Aaron Fox, who is just a closer, who just finally is showing his superstar potential. You got Sabonis. That's the little matchup I'm worried about a little bit for the Kings, because even then, I think he's a little smaller. I would love to see like Joker and Sabonis matchup because I want to see how Sabonis could hold his own on the defensive end, guarding a traditional center, a traditional five that could post you up and score. Where even like a Zubac or like a Aiton can do that. You got Cat, you got AD. So I want to see how Sabonis matches up with those bigs, and I think that might be one of their weaknesses. But he also has just a great bag offensively. The Kings have just become must-watch TV. I'm pretty sure their fan base is having a blast watching this team, and hopefully we just continue to light that beam. Going into 4, the Phoenix Suns. On paper, if these guys are healthy, it's their world. We're just living in it. I mean, if you throw out Chris Paul, D-Book, KD, and Ayton, you got a chance to win any game that you play in. So with those guys, I don't even want to talk too much about them. I'm not going to lie. This is my villain team. This is my team that I don't want to say I could care less about, but it's just going to hurt me to see them succeed because I'm a very biased person, and the Phoenix Suns, if they do it the right way, they play ball the right way, I'll probably just come on here and not apologize, but just accept that, okay, maybe they did do it the right way. But in general, it's going to make me sick to me stomach watching the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs and especially dominating. I really got the field against the Suns. That's how much of a hater I am. Let's just move on to the Clippers. It's just making me nauseous thinking about the Suns. The Clippers being a 5 seed right now on the West Coast. The Clippers are a 5 seed in the West Coast. Obviously, Paul George gets sick. Yeah, Paul George got sick the other day. Now Paul George potentially gets hurt the other day. I don't know the length in the injury as far as like is he gonna return soon or not yet. I don't have an update on that. The Clippers when healthy, I mean been the question for them, and I kind of hate the whole if a team's healthy they'll do good kind of thing. But this Clippers team is loaded A through Z. And the Clippers got Kawhi. We've seen there's a very short list of people who can individually put their mark in the playoffs, and Kawhi is one of those guys. The Clippers are definitely a championship or bust caliber team, and honestly, this core has 1 or 2 years left. So if they don't get this job done, it's going to question whether GMs and owners should keep investing in these big threes that have a lifespan of 3 years, 4 years, because you invest so much money to try to get the championship and you're risking your future in a way where the Clippers, the Thunder own all their first round draft picks for a little while. And the Clippers are slowly getting to that point where if you're a GM, you're an owner, you're gonna start questioning making these so-called super teams or these so-called decisions where friends want to join together and play on the same team, because you only have a realistic 3 to 4 year at most window, and you're risking so much. Let's move on to the defending champion Golden State Warriors that are in 6th place at 38 and 36. That's probably because I had them winning the West this year as far as the regular season. The Warriors, the league supposedly has caught up to them, right? That's the whole thing this year where like the league is playing their style. And they are getting old and Clay is washed and they have problems within. Draymond and Jordan Poole don't like each other. Wiggins is not going to return this year, possibly. Good luck. Good luck playing the Warriors in the playoffs. I would want to avoid the Warriors at all costs in the playoffs. This is a team that just knows how to be together. This is a team that just got each other back in these kind of moments. When you talk about Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Iggy not even playing but just being there, those 4 guys, man, have just dominated 6 or 7 years closely to anybody that's ever done it. This is the new age San Antonio Spurs. This is the new age Chicago Bulls from the 90s, Celtics, Lakers. This is it. This is the Warriors. They've earned that. And that's hard for me to accept because I'm not a big Warriors guy. But they have just earned my respect over these years. I started off certified Warriors hater, especially the KD Warriors. And then now I just respect them. I love watching them. I enjoy seeing them. Last year's final run was pretty magical. If you think about where people wrote them off, a lot of teams didn't really see them ever getting there, and the fashion they did it. Steph was able to take over a lot of those games. Stay away from the Warriors. Trust me. Kill them now if you can. If you can't, kill them now. Get them in the play-in and kill them now. The longer they live, the worse for the rest of the field. Obviously, but even then, just kill them when you can. Do not let the champion live. All right, now to the good stuff. At 7, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves. 8 right now is the Dallas Mavericks. 9 is the New Orleans Pelicans. 10, the LA Fakers. 11, the Thunder. And even the Utah Jazz has a chance. Where you have the Blazers number 13. Damian Lillard is liable of going for 60 on any given night. And his team is the 13 seed. This is what I'm talking about, where this is the deepest field, the deepest conference in NBA history, where only 2 of these teams can get in. So let's go through it. As far as the Timberwolves, these guys like to beam up. And Anthony Edwards said it best. He had one of my favorite quotes this year. He said, you know what? We love ISO teams because we can really show how good we are defensively. That's a team that wants to play defense. And that's, in today's NBA, that's the whole thing where a lot of people aren't playing defense no more. The Timberwolves have that old school mentality where they just want to beam you up. Or a quick little thing too, as far as Cat coming back. So now we haven't even seen this Timberwolves team with Cat, and they've looked very solid throughout the year. Where they made the trades too. Now they have veteran. Where it almost seemed like they made trades to start kind of a rebuild, or they just kind of moved away from D'Lo and they got Mike Conley. But these veterans have helped them, and they're a young team where they have nothing to lose going into this thing. Honestly, it's going to be hard for them to not get a spot in here, to be honest. But if they get eliminated, if they don't make the playoffs this year, it's going to be heartbreaking, where it just sucks because there's only 2 teams that could get in. Let's go move on to the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks have the best player that you can run an offense through for the whole game in Luka Doncic. With Luka, there's that special thing where you could just say, hey, give him the ball, and he's going to play after play. And not anyone else could do that. Well, not LeBron anymore, but LeBron used to do that pretty much. But even then, Luka's the only guy. Here's the ball. Make something happen. Possession by possession. That's Luka. That's the only player. So what was Luka missing? Someone else that can do that, can take that difficult weight off his shoulders. Where's Kyrie's heart at? Is he still fully committed to the game? Where if these 2 guys can get it together, they are right there with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum as the best duo in the NBA. Obviously, I just said duo. It's not necessarily, and this is more just about potential. Good luck trying to stop these guys. But even then, this goes back a little bit to the Hawks take, where they're both dribble penetrators. They both realistically don't like catch and shooting. If one of them, or if both of them can kind of find a way to space for each other or find a way to slash for each other, one of them is going to have to learn off ball. And that's very challenging, especially for someone like Kyrie this late in his career, where he could do it, but learning off ball it's not a natural instinct. It's something that you really have to develop, you really have to work on. And it's very few people that can do that. That's what kind of separates Steph from a lot of people, is his off-ball movement. And the Mavericks are going to need for sure one of those guys to go off-ball, because the catch and shooting it's going to be, from a catch and shoot standpoint, they could both do it, but spacing and stuff, J-Kidd is going to have to get really creative, where this team was just used to Luka dribble penetrating, kick out, open threes, and they could still do that. Now Luka has the help he needs. He's going to have the break he deserves, and I really hope this Mavericks team gets in, because we just don't want to get robbed from a playoffs with no Luka magic. Going to number 9, the New Orleans Pelicans. if Zion Williamson is healthy, they're not even worrying about a play-in right now, which is a little unfair, but that's just kind of been the question so far throughout his whole career. This team plays hard. Willie Green, one of the younger coaches in the NBA on his way up that just plays the new brand, new age. You got guys, this is a scrappy team. Last year no one counted them to get in. They got in through the play-in format. They gave the Suns heck. They kind of wore them down to where Luka came in and finished them off. But this Pelicans team is dangerous. You don't want to write them off. You got BI, which is a 3-level scorer. You got CJ, who can get you a bucket instantly. And the Pelicans are in a great place because they have that mix of youth and veteranship. In general, hopefully the Pelicans get in. But if they don't, I mean, they always got next year, right? Going into number 10, the Los Angeles Lakers. This is a crazy place to be at for the Lakers. They're the 10 seed. Started horrible. And I kind of just got to take a second to really analyze that the Lakers are the 10th seed in the Western Conference right now. With that team that they have, just shows how deep the NBA is right now. Arguably the best 10th seed ever. But then, I mean, that's not going to get you into the playoffs. They get a chance to go into the play-in and maybe get in. But if this Lakers team doesn't get in, that's going to be obviously the most talked about thing, almost even more than the champion. It's just like everyone wants this team to fail, LeBron to fail. All right, maybe that's just my insecurities, but in general, it's more like the Luka thing where I said if you get robbed from playoff, if you get robbed from these superstars, all-stars being in the playoffs, it just sucks because it's just an experience that we don't get to have. And that's what it feels like last year, but especially it will feel like 2 years in a row, no LeBron, no playoffs. I honestly won't even know what to do with myself, but let's see what happens. This is going to be the nicest end to a regular season in NBA history without a doubt, because you have the Thunder who just doesn't even care, doesn't even realize that they're tanking. They play hard. They come at you all game. They want to get in the playoffs, and they kind of want to start building a culture going forward. As far as in the best position right now overall in the NBA, I will argue that it's the Thunder and the Jazz. Danny Ainge has found a way to get all these assets, where my boy Sam Presti has done the same, and the Thunder is a little bit ahead in this process because they already acquired a good amount of young talent, where they have Shai Gilgeous, they have Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren hasn't even played this year, and they have all these draft picks. It's the Thunder and Jazz's world, and we're just living in it. And I'm excited to see what comes next as far as just the playoffs in general and the future going forward. That's going to be the first ever Zero Substance podcast. Go follow the boys at SlimFatzz Podcast. Go follow at SlimFatzz Deportes, at Jovi Canoli, Jovican, emphasis CAN, yes we can, OLI. And I'm already looking forward for episode 2, Zero Substance, where we're going to have the boys back. We're going to be able to talk about soccer. And that's going to be all for today. Up the Reds!